Pocan of Wisconsin. He's the chair emeritus of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. What's your sense of it? Do you think they're going to come to an agreement on some kind of a ceasefire that involves a hostage release? What do you think?
Thanks for having me, Jim. I hope so. You know, we want peace in this region. I think everyone looks at what happened, the horrific attack on October 7th, understands Israel's right to be able to respond to Hamas. But then from what I hear, as I've been around my district the last 2 weeks, people think this is way more than a response to Hamas. And it appears to be a collective punishment of all Palestinians in Gaza. 2 million people displaced, 33,000 dead, 70% being women and children. We need to stop the bombing now. We need to get aid and food and water to people now who are starving. And we need to get this resolved. You know, I think the United States position has always been a two-state solution, recognizing states of Israel and Palestine. I think that's where we need to focus our efforts.
And Congressman, you and other progressives recently penned a letter to President Biden calling on him to stop transferring weapons to Israel after that strike in Gaza that killed those 7 aid workers with World Central Kitchen. The president has warned the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that there could be changes in U.S. support, changes in U.S. policy if he doesn't change course. He has not gotten to a point where he is demanding that Netanyahu bring about an immediate ceasefire today, right now. Are you satisfied by his response to the attack? Do you think he needs to go further?
Well, at minimum, I think any new assistance to Israel has to have conditions. We can't allow it to continue to bomb people who don't even have food and water. We need to be able to protect aid workers. We're providing aid ourselves, the United States, but we have to do it by air and by water rather than through our friends' checkpoints, Israel. That's not acceptable. We need to get aid to people. We need to make sure it's delivered safely. Over 200 aid workers have been killed, not just the most recent 7 that's gotten a lot of attention. A whole lot more has to be done. They should not be invading Rafah and certainly not doing it with the weaponry that the United States is providing. So we're hoping to talk to the administration about conditions on that funding for offensive weapons. And that's what the letter was about from the members of Congress.
And I know some of your colleagues up on the Hill are worried that the president's stance on Israel could complicate efforts to pass a bill that would include aid for not just Israel, but also Ukraine and Taiwan. How do you unpack that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you put the alone on the floor, the funding for Ukraine, you'd have 3/4 of Congress voting for it. Half the Republicans and virtually every Democrat, including myself, would vote for assistance for Ukraine. The problem is right now it's tied in through what the Senate had in a package with aid to Israel that does not have conditions, as well as humanitarian aid. Right now, Mike Johnson, the speaker, won't put it on the floor. We got to figure out how we get that to the floor. But there is wide support to support Ukraine. I think the question really that is out there is we can't continue to support Benjamin Netanyahu, who does not have the best interest of the United States. He doesn't support a two-state solution. That's a big deal. And we have to make sure that we're protecting as many innocents as Benjamin Netanyahu is conducting his war in Gaza.
And Congressman, I mean, I'm sure you saw the news this morning, former President Trump announcing his abortion policy, saying it should be left up to the states, saying he was proud of overturning Roe versus Wade. Do you trust Trump when he says he would leave abortion up to the states? And what did you make of his announcement this morning?
Yeah, you could have put the period after do you trust Trump. The answer would be no. Unfortunately, I've served with him when he was president. On this issue, he's particularly wrong. When he helped to overturn Roe versus Wade with his appointments on the Supreme Court, that made states like Wisconsin, we now are under 1849 law. We used to tax horses and buggies. I think it was 10 cents for one horse, 15 cents if you had 2 in 1849. And that's the exact same law people in Wisconsin have to live under for abortion. That's why we had Roe versus Wade, to protect women no matter where you lived in this country. And he is completely out of sync with the American people on this issue.
And I'm sure you know this, Congressman. President Biden is set to travel to your state of Wisconsin today, and this comes after a new round of polling by the Wall Street Journal revealed he's tied at 46% with Trump among registered voters. Obviously, we've seen these polls move all over the place, but I mean, it's sort of deadlocked all over the country. If you look at our poll of polls, and Wisconsin kind of mirrors that. Does that concern you? How close is Wisconsin going to be, do you think, at the end of the day?
Yeah, look, we're a purple state. I think Joe Biden won it by under 21,000 votes last time. We have a tendency to have those really close statewide elections, sometimes under 1% difference. And it means a number of things. One, showing up. Joe Biden, this is his 9th or 10th trip. In fact, he's been here so often, I'm going to ask the governor if he's eligible for residency requirements to pay state income taxes. He's showing up. That's good. But it's also people want to know what's happening. And he has done so much to deliver for the American people, investing in infrastructure, rebuilding things in this country, creating good paying jobs, doing that, also reducing cost for Americans in healthcare and energy through the Inflation Reduction Act. And today he's announcing saving millions more people money on their student debt. I think that's the sort of stuff people want from a president. So he's actually showing he's taking that age and experience he brings to actually deliver things and get things done. And I think at the end of the day, people in Wisconsin, that's what they're going to look at. You look at, what affects your family the most directly. Clearly, Joe Biden has been very good for families in Wisconsin, and I think that's going to pay off.
Just very quickly, though, finally, though, it was so close the last time around in Wisconsin. If you have an RFK Jr. there on the ballot, if you have Cornel West, Jill Stein, could that really cause havoc for the president? And if it's just down to a few thousand votes and you have a third party or multiple third party candidates in there, that might be the difference.
Look, if the election was decided just on the merits, what I just explained, what the president's doing for people, he should win, no problem. But, there's other complicating issues, and third-party candidates certainly complicate things. I think the current situation in Gaza, as I've gotten around my district, is complicating things. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure people understand that, Joe Biden is fighting and working hard for Wisconsin families. And I think that message at the end of the day will be what delivers votes for Joe Biden. But, third-party candidates certainly are never going to be elected president, and I hope people understand that when they go to vote.
All right, Congressman Pocan, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Sure, thank you.
All right, in the meantime, we are just